Pana. Pana's back. Playboy, what a freaking crazy year. This is entirely different. 2025 was entirely different, but 2026 is starting out a hell of a lot better, huh?
Yeah,
A hell of a lot better. We got a lot to, there's a lot happened in 2025.
yeah,
From you entering 2025 as a 66 and you did Sheffield and you didn't like the performance, but it was a late call up. So you put together what you could. And then 2025 Worlds for France. Um, we could talk about that as well as even like we did briefly in that in studio podcast, but not in depth like me and you do. And then not only for France going without a world champion, but you yourself for the first time in a long time not at worlds participating, seeing your protege Turbo Tiff take the very first L, like, and Leah wasn't there, like a lot of the keep wasn't there. It was an entirely different world for France, and which only obviously builds up what we also got to get to is Sheffield. But we'll get there. But you have had up and down years. This is like your story. This is nothing new for you, but you tasted this one from highs and lows. Now you're coming off a huge high, huge win at Sheffield where you answered not only your athlete winning, but going 9 for 9 and a massive performance for 47. And you answered a lot of critics yourself, handling and as a coach, leveling Tiff up, who's a seasoned veteran lifter, to level up in the same weight class is very difficult. Direct head-to-head competition, 9 for 9, answering some critics in terms of that, and then we'll talk about your journey into a 74, the bulk, the body composition has definitely changed. I saw you in Sheffield. You're definitely getting more and more jacked. Even at the body composition earlier, you bulked up. Now it's different. How you feel, your goals for 2026. And I need your impression on what you saw at Sheffield with some of the other weight classes and we got a lot to talk about, man. But
yeah.
so I don't even. I mean, where do we unpack this? Let's roll this back. I think let's roll this back because they'll set up the storyline later on moving forward to Worlds 2026. Your thoughts on that? I know I asked you in studio, but we could go a little deeper here. What were your thoughts, not participating yourself, and how it unfolded?
So yeah, so the overall story was I didn't want to compete at Worlds because I knew my body was like giving me harder and harder time to cut weight. Some people might still not know it, but I essentially ran on like 1,800 calories a day and sometimes even fewer calories than that for years almost. And I think what happened was my body just couldn't handle it anymore. My recovery wasn't that good. So I would have like physical issues, whether it's my back, my knee, several issues. And so I was like, okay, I have just one last shot in the 66s. And I had to choose between Worlds and World Games. And I talked about it with the French Federation, and the French Federation was really, really big on the World Games, like very big. Essentially, my last pool from the year prior, so World 2024, they had me not load what I needed for victory, just to secure a podium on my second attempt. So that's how big Team France was on doing the World Games. So at the end of one of our like squad meeting with the coaches, the coaching staff, and everything, they tell me we would really appreciate you having your last comp at 66 at the World Games and not at Worlds. Also, the World Games was later than Worlds, so was giving me a bit more time to prepare. So I was like, you know what? Okay, let's scratch Worlds 2025, and I'll prepare for the World Games. And so, because I wasn't doing Worlds 25, at the same time, I was like, this will be so weird if I'm there, but I'm not there. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And so I just wanted to like be focused on myself at that moment because I needed it. And that's why essentially I didn't went to Worlds. I didn't go to Worlds, whether it's to compete. I didn't want to compete for the World Games, and I didn't want to go there because that would make me feel weird being there, seeing everybody battle it out, and I was like, I'm not there. So essentially, that's what happened. And like you said, I chose the worst timing to not be there because that's where Tiff got her first loss ever. And I know how it's like to lose sometimes, but like you said, my story has always been highs and lows, highs and lows, highs and lows. And Tiff's story has always been victories, always from day one almost. And so not being there for her when she needed it the most, actually, that really, really felt wrong for me personally, whether as a coach or even more as a friend, because I'm also friends with Tiff. So yeah, so that was a bad and dark moment for both of us, for her as the athlete, but for me as the coach, but also as the friend. So yeah, we really wanted to have a redemption during Sheffield this year. That was a major goal of ours.
So, have you ever seen the movie Lawless with Tom Hardy? He's a bootlegger, and it's him and his brothers.
What is the
And
movie?
Lawless,
No, I don't think I've seen it.
okay, 2010, 11, around there. So this is a young Tom Hardy. He's like your age, handsome fucking devil, huh? And they're bootleggers and they're brothers, and they do these bootlegging runs. So they sell this illegal alcohol back when it was illegal in the U.S. They were selling it all the time. Had a couple big sales. Things always go right. Things always go right, Pana. And the one time he tells his brother, hey, there's some new guys. I don't know these guys that well. Come by tonight. Make sure you're there. But the brother's like, some shit came up, and the other brother doesn't show up for Tom Hardy. But he's thinking it always fucking goes right. Like, it's fine. He'll be fine. This is what we do. And that night, the Tom Hardy ends up getting jumped, stabbed, and like throat slit in the hospital. And the brother shows up, enters the room, sees Tom Hardy. And Tom Hardy doesn't say nothing. He says one sentence that tears the brother to pieces. He says, "You should have been there." And
Yeah,
fucking it guts him. And you know the brother is like, fuck. And you don't have to say nothing else. And if you live long enough, like it's going to happen. And you're
yeah,
gonna be like, fuck, that hurts. And it's gonna happen. This is gonna happen. And I know what you mean when you say like you look back, like fucking did not think. Like she always wins. You think like if you need me, I'll be there. Like that's what you do for like family friends. Like when you need me, I'll be there. And I'm sure she came home and you were there. It wasn't like she comes home and you were there, of course. But in that specific, you're like, God damn it. And I know what you mean where you be like, I will make this up to you. Like that this will not happen again. And you guys turned it on. And obviously, I won't bury your own story when we talk about Sheffield and what the redemption that would be. Because obviously you're there and you handle and what happened afterwards. But I know what you mean, man. Where that would sting and you're like, I can't take it back. I can't turn it back. And the first is hard. Like they're always hard. You've lost, like you said, but you've gone up and down, and this is your story. You're resilient. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt if you lose, but you're pretty tough and resilient now. Whereas for her, she had never dealt with this. She was like, I remember seeing her in the back at Worlds, and she was crying, and I'm like, it'll be okay. You're gonna come back even stronger. You're gonna come back like a demon from this. Like this is it. You don't know this now, and you don't want to hear it now, but it'll be okay, and this will be all part of your story, and it's better this way. It's better this way. And she's looked up at me. She's sitting on the bench. She looked up at me, tears in her eyes, and is like, I've never lost. Like I don't even, and I'm just did it in front of the world watching. And she's like, I just don't. She's just trying to process it. Like you feel like you lost everything. And I'm like, you know. And of course, we'll talk about how she did rally back, and you could say what it did do and turn her on mentally, and you as a coach and the feelings going into Sheffield. But it was freaking devastating the way it laid out. And you're not just a coach; you are an athlete. Like you are also an athlete. you were also trying to win like world titles, world games, and figure it out yourself. So it's tough for you to balance it. It's not easy, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I was like physically, I wasn't doing good during this period of time. Like I had a lot of pain everywhere in my body, let's say. And also it was getting harder and harder to cut weight. So in my head I was like, if I go to Germany it will be and so because I moved away and it wasn't like in Berlin or like a major German city, we checked it and it was like 2 days of travel almost, with like 12
Mm,
hours of commute and stuff like that. So I was like, have the world games coming up, I already decided to scratch my world's participation in order to like optimize my chances for world games. So if I go there and I jeopardize my chances, then I scratched worlds for nothing essentially.
mm,
So
mhm,
that's also one of the reasons as to why I was like, I have to focus on myself on this one. And I had this conversation with Tiff. Like it's not as if I decided on my own. And Tiff understands and knew, and she knew back then. She was like, you have to focus on your own thing, and don't worry, I'll do what I need to do there. So, but yeah, like you said, didn't happen like the way we wanted it to happen. And then yeah, that's a crow you have to swallow. It's not an easy one, but that's how it is. And after that, we talked a lot with Tiff because we've always been pretty close, but I think unfortunately some circumstances got us like closer. She opened about it during the podcast with you. So her dad got cancer, and that happened. I don't want to say anything wrong, but I think it was around April or something like that. So it was like during the World's Prep that she learned about it. And so that was like that sting even more for me, because I was like, not only did she lose like in terms of like sports, but I also know what she's going through in her own personal life. And if you add like what's happening on her athlete's life and you add that up to what's going on behind the scenes with her dad and everything, then it's not easy at all. And
mm.
we 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 linked up probably a bit more after her coming back from Germany. Had some like lengthy conversations about stuff, life in general, and yeah, she just showed that she didn't become 4 times world champion by chance or talent. Because if that was the case, she wouldn't have been able to win Sheffield this year. She became it also because she's resilient. She has a tough mindset, and she's able to take the L's like all of the great champions are, and able to rally from it.
What was it like watching it? I'm assuming you watched the stream.
That
What was
was
it like
awful.
to watch? I mean, as it's unpacing, when it, sorry, we got to relive this, but it makes the story, like I told her,
Yeah,
it'll make
yeah,
the story better
yeah,
because we know the story ends well. But when you're watching this is straight up a fucking movie, man. The
yeah,
coach who you found her at a seminar before she had done anything and brought her from, I forget what her total was. It was nothing. And you brought it up to like being a monster and you guys are undefeated. And then the one time you don't show, you're watching on the stream. If you had that recorded, your reaction, you watching on the stream, dude, talk about a documentary when you guys
yeah,
rally for what Sheffield became. But what was it like seeing it? And did you think watching she's off
yeah,
early, or did you did, and then as it's getting close to the end, are you like, fuck, it's gonna
yeah.
happen? Like, when did you? What were? Walk me through it a little.
So like you said, I've been coaching Tiff almost since day one, and we train together. Like we've been training together for almost 5 years now. So even 5 years, I think. So I, because we've been training together for so long, and I've been coaching her throughout this whole period of time, uh, as an athlete, I know her like 100%. So whenever she's moving a weight, I'm like, okay, that moved the way it's supposed to move, or something is off. And
Mm,
from her, I don't want to say her opener, but from her second squat, I was like, yeah, something's off today. And unfortunately, this impression that I had carried through the whole comp. And what happened was she she was losing the battle against herself, like because of the situation with her dad, because of the pressure on her shoulders, like, oh, that's my fifth world title on the line. I cannot lose. I cannot lose to Heather Connor, because people were like, oh, is Tiff really the 47 GOAT, or is it Heather? Because Heather has been collecting world titles before Tiff has. So, I think all of those things played a role, and tricked her, and she lost her focus. Like she didn't understand that she needed to focus on every single lift that was coming her way in order to execute them correctly. And she was looking at what Heather was doing, and, oh, what if I miss my third squat, and what if I do this? And essentially she just lost the battle against herself. And when I was watching like the live stream, I was like, in my head, I was like, fuck, it's happening. And I don't
Really?
want to say that if I was there, I would have changed something, because maybe I couldn't have. As you know, Team Friends doesn't allow personal coaches to handle athletes. So whenever there's an athlete for Team Friends, he can't be handled by his personal coach. So I wouldn't have been able to handle Tiff even if I was there. But maybe, I would have been able to scream something, and she would have hear it, and you can make the story like 20 times in your head. um, but yeah, essentially that's what was happening. And then by the time deadlift showed up, I was like, oh, that's that's a very, very bad situation to be in, because obviously Heather is a monster puller. And yeah, she had the final say with the last pull. And I was like, we created this situation. Like, I don't want to take anything from Heather's victory, because she won, and that's square and fair. But I do believe that Tiff was stronger on the day, and she just wasn't able to express that. And what matters is like who has the gold medal, obviously. So and then I didn't sleep for the whole night.
Really?
I think
Well,
we
the irony that you're like, I can't go. It's gonna fuck up my sleep. It's gonna whatever. I
yeah,
gotta
yeah,
train.
and then
You're like, no, this is worse. This is way
yeah, and
worse.
then
This is way
it
worse.
fucked me up. It fucked me up.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
I was laying in bed, and I was like watching the ceiling, and I was like, uh, I was speechless. I had so many like conflicting emotions in me. I was like, I should have been there, but at the same time, I was like, no. The thing was exactly to not be there, because then that that would have been more anxiousness, like being there in person, obviously. And so yeah, it was a, a lot of mixed emotions, I would say.
I gotta 1 sec. I gotta plug my laptop in. I got a good question for you. 1 sec.
Yeah, go ahead.
So obviously, this was a tough one because you're watching. You're not there. You can't do what you want to do. How would you compare this though to some of your performances? You've had tough goes. You've had ups, you've had downs. From bombing at Euros, off podium in Worlds, but you've obviously rallied back. But how would you compare this as a coach low? Was this the worst coach low? First off, new ground for you, and how do you compare it as an athlete?
It's different because as an athlete, because I'm self-coached, whenever I was like failing, I was blaming it on me 100%. You know what I mean? But here it was like I felt as if I failed her, like as if I didn't prepare her as well as I could have. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So it's different. It's definitely different. Um, because you're dealing with another human being who has emotions and ideas and thoughts and dreams. And so yeah, it's definitely different. But in a sense, I don't want to say it's worse, because trust me, like bombing out of Euros, we talked about it like after it happened, and some losses that I got. at Worlds, like especially Worlds 24, where I was like, it's probably the last time my dad is seeing me compete internationally, and I could have won, and I didn't. So I don't want to say it's worse, but it may feel worse in the sense that I feel as if I failed her, and maybe if I did a couple of things differently, maybe the outcome would have been different, and she wouldn't have had to suffer and go through everything that she went through throughout summer, especially after Worlds.
The thing is, it was bound to happen. Like you
Yeah,
can't win forever. So it's bound, it's totally normal to ask these questions of yourself. It's actually not a bad thing because a loss will make you look at things differently. And there's no question if she won, you're not going to analyze what you as a coach or her as an athlete are doing if you just keep winning. It's cliche to say you learn more from a loss than you do from a win, but it's true. I
yeah,
mean, the proof is in the pudding. Now she's down like what, 4 totals over 450? Like the proof is in the pudding. And
yeah,
we'll get into it. But after she lost, she changed. And you even looked at, analyzed some of the coaching and the programming. Like, what if I move this deadlift over here? What if I have you hit this number that you're afraid of? What if I, like, you just, a loss makes you do that. But when you're winning all the time, you're almost afraid to change too much because you're
yeah,
like, well, we're winning. What if I change a lot and then you lose? It's like, what the hell am I doing? We were
yeah,
winning. I had the winning formula. Just do, don't fix what isn't already broken. But when you lose, it almost alleviates that. Like, fuck it, we lost. We got to do something. And this
yeah,
is very similar to Russ rematching Germans at Sheffield, by the way. The similarities on
yeah.
this storyline. But yeah, I'll let you say it.
No, 100% agree. I think maybe things would have been different if like it was Tiff was like on her A game and Heather just won. Maybe things would have been different. But because Tiff wasn't able to bring on her A game, and it was obvious to everybody that she missed when she shouldn't have missed, and stuff like that. That's maybe what you're saying is true, where we were like, we cannot fuck up like that once again. Like we
Mm.
have to adapt. We have to change things up. And yeah, I think what you're saying is true. I would say maybe it's cliche to say you learn more from the losses than you do from the wins, but I would say it depends on the loss. And this type of loss
Sure.
that Tiff got handed to her in Worlds at Worlds, that's the type of losses that you learn the most from. 100%.
So,
Like the one where you don't want to look at yourself in a mirror. You know what I mean?
fuck,
These
man.
are the ones.
Jesus. You know,
Yeah,
it's in life, you have those moments where you look in the mirror and you're like, fuck,
yeah,
like it's tough. Where you
yeah,
have so much regret and so much you're like, you wish you would have done, wish you would have said, and you're like, I can't take this back. You
yeah,
just swallow it like, I am never going to let that happen again.
yeah.
And what
And
do?
that's
You,
that's the mindset she was in when she came back from Worlds from Germany. That's exactly the mindset. And we sometimes when we train, so you've been with us to train, so you know how it's like. And sometimes I like to scream stuff before like the training session here to hype everybody up, etc. And there is one saying I really like, because sometimes when you're training with other really really good athletes, you it in a way it's very very good, very positive, but in another way, when you have a low day, your low day becomes like super duper low day compared to like greatness around you. You know what I mean? So sometimes, especially like during those moments with Tiff when she was like in a tough place mentally, I was screaming before the training sessions. I was like, guys, this morning I woke up, I went to shower, there was my mirror in the way, and I saw a big piece of shit. And I don't want to see a big piece of shit like that once again. So that's exactly why I'm training today.
God damn, there's a big piece of shit.
Yeah. And that was exactly what I was saying. And the good thing is I did feel that myself, about myself as an athlete at that moment. So it was like, let's rally together. Like no matter who you are, like no matter your wins and losses, and sometimes you might feel that you're like Superman, and sometimes you might feel like you're a big piece of shit, like I was feeling at times, and like Tiff was feeling afterwards. And it's all right. It's all right. Just work in the gym, and you'll be able to switch things around. And that's exactly the mindset we had from the moment Tiff came back from Worlds.
So before we move on from that Worlds, also as you're watching from afar, and this is the first time in a long time you're not there as an athlete. Like what? How many world? When was the last time you weren't at Worlds as an athlete?
I think I did my first Worlds in 2019, and I did every Worlds
So
afterwards. So
that's okay. So that's freaking insane. So the first time you don't as an athlete and you're watching from afar, and for the first time in a long time, France doesn't get a single world champion. And you're watching this like, what do you take? And you're like you're it's Tiff. You're the monster that France has. Takes an L. Like a lot of things doesn't go France's way. What are you thinking as this world is transpiring and coming to a close? And you're like, fuck, man, we just can't. We're just not on right now. And I'm sure the fallout you probably heard. Some people are whispering the hype has died down. People were talking like France was going to rival USA, and we'll talk about nationals and how many people showed up. But still,
I think the thing we have in France still is, yes, we are leveling up as a powerlifting nation, but essentially, if you look closely, um, it's only like this year we have some like newer athletes that are really, really good. Before that, it was always like the same athletes. And so, for whatever reason, if one year something happens, uh, the whole dynamic changes of the team, and that's exactly what happened in 2025. Because unfortunately, a lot of people know about what happened with Jade and her coach. Leah also had some mental issues that she had to face, which is why she didn't compete at Worlds either. I had my own share of things and experiences, and so if you look at it that way, then like more than 80% of the team has had something going on in their lives in 2025, and I think that's the main reason as to why we didn't do as good as the previous years. Because again, if we're like I'm talking about the open team, obviously not the juniors, but let's say we're 7, 8 athletes making the open team for years and years now. If 5 of us have something going on, then all of a sudden, and one loses, then hey, where is Team France now?
hmm.
So I would say it's more so like a matter of like circumstances, external circumstances, than it was really, oh, France is dying or something like that. But obviously, again, it's a matter of how many world titles did we get the previous years versus how many we got this year. Yeah, hard to debate, but if you look at the circumstances once again, then you see a different story and a different picture.
So you leave Worlds, you end up pulling out of World Games because,
Yeah.
and we talked about this to a large extent, but the body was not happy about the lack of calories. Um, your lifts were all nosediving, and your body is essentially saying you got to move up. You make the decision to move up. I seen you in the summertime, and then I saw you again at Sheffield. And or was it summertime when I saw you? Either way, I saw you at a silent work, and then I saw you again at Sheffield. And you have put on a lot more muscle mass in that interim. You are far more jacked. What talk to us about? Give us an update about first off the increase in calories, the increase in weightlifting, how the body's feeling, and the squat is shot up like insane. What is it like 25 kilos? It's crazy how much your squat is shot up. But the bench and the deadlift, I think you had some injury you could talk about. Give people an update because I know they want an update. And tell us about the lifts. Tell us about the body composition and how you're feeling.
Yeah, so yeah, like you said, had to pull up the World Games, and then when that happened, I was like, then why didn't I do Worlds? But
Mm.
it's always easy to look back at things once like they unravel, and you're like, oh, I could have done this, should have done that. Anyway, yeah, so I didn't do World Games because I simply wasn't able to, in terms of how my body was responding, like to training, how my body was responding to like the weight cut and everything. Um, it would have been uh, like do you know the swan song?
No.
So maybe it's something else in English, but it's like a swan song in French means like the last thing someone is doing before dying.
Okay, yes. I know the Swan Song. I thought you were talking like a specific one if this was like a show,
No,
movie, or anime or something.
no. So it would have been a swan song. Like I would have made the weight cut and then probably would have died in the
I was gonna say,
bathtub
like,
or
your worlds, if you went, probably wouldn't have been great based off what you were telling me at the time. Like
yeah.
your body was not liking 66.
Yeah. It was rough. So yeah. So anyway, had to accept the truth that I just need to move up a weight class in order to have I want to say like a second wind in my powerlifting career. That's how I view it, at least. Um, and so yeah. So then I didn't have a lot of time before, whether it's Salon Worker or whether it's before French nationals, because to make those two comps, I didn't have to cut weight. Like I ate like usual, and I weighed in like below 74. Um, and then with obviously more time, more training, and more things, now my body weight is moving up like quite substantially. So I'm right now I'm around 75 ish, 75, 75.5 on some days, which is really really good, and I'm happy about it. Um, but yeah, the goal essentially is to pack on as much muscle mass as I can. Ideally, I would like to be around 78 for my next competition, and then cut weight from 78 to 74s, and see how things are with this body weight. So that's it. And then with what you said, yeah. So weirdly enough, squat has always been the movement I had the most like issues, especially in competition with the weight cut, like changes in my leverages and stuff like that. And with the weight increase, that's the movement that picked up the most. So I was able to squat 277.5 at French nationals, which is like in comp a quite substantial PR. So that was good. And then with my bench press, so unfortunately we have a sponsor equipment for the French nationals, and the bench is like awful. So I'm very very frustrated because my prep went really well on bench, and I just wasn't able to show it up on the platform. And that's on me because you have to adapt to the equipment, and I just didn't. So that's why my bench was so low on that day. And then deadlifts. So yeah, so like you said, because of like my World Games prep this past August, I like asked a lot of my body, especially my back, on deadlifts, and it just has been really really hard to recover. So I was at the point, especially during my nationals prep, where I was able to do some good sessions here and there, but for every good session I was doing, it would take me like 2 weeks to recover. But at the same time, I was like, if I don't push it at least a bit, then I won't like be trained enough to have a good performance. So I was like in that middle ground where if I don't push enough, then I won't be able to have a good level of strength on the day of. And then if I push it and I'm able to like train my strength, but I'm in so much pain, I cannot deadlift for a week after that. It was a tough situation. Still not 100% resolved right now, especially with my deadlift. But because I have more time, I'm like, it's since French nationals, I've been able to like chill out a bit more, not be in a rush of, oh, I have to do this, I have to deadlift that, I have to squat this, etc. So right now I'm taking a bit more of my time, like letting my body adapt to the calories, to my new like leverages, and just recover in general, I would say, because even though I had more calories since August, since I moved up a weight class. You know, calories are good, but they aren't magic, and unfortunately, they didn't like all of a sudden erase like probably months of like beating up my body so much, I would say.
What is the difference when you're training now? Like your squat
Yeah.
jump, like your 66 kilo PR. What is it? 260?
No, no, my 66 PR is 250, 2.5.
Oh my god! So
Yeah.
it's jumped up 25 kilos.
Yeah.
25 kilos from a 66. How is it? Like, why do you think your squat jumped so huge?
Yeah, I would say leverages because, you know, when I was 66, especially like after weight cut, etc., I had no belly whatsoever. You know, everything was like inwards. And so, you know, obviously when you brace, you want to have like a nice surface in front of you
Mm.
to be able to support your motion, have a good force transfer from the legs to the upper body, etc. And I think that's what was missing from when I was 66. And now because I'm a bit fuller everywhere, I would say. I have much more support when I'm squatting. Not only from that, but I would say also from the legs, probably.
And are you doing like how much more are you? Because I see in your stories you're doing far more bodybuilding. I remember before you were like the SBD guy. You were like, I do
Yeah,
SBD, I get my nervous system strong, and you maximize every kilo on your body. But now I look at your story and you are freaking doing like arm curls. You're doing
yeah,
like tons of bodybuilding, and your body composition for sure has changed. Like, there's
yeah.
no question you're a bigger, thicker human being now. How much more bodybuilding stuff are you doing? And how much do you think your body composition has changed? Like, how much bigger, more muscular human being are you now from like a year ago?
So I have a very good, interesting thing to say about it. So we saw Russ at Sheffield, right?
Yeah.
And Anissa, so my wife, my partner, essentially, um, she was like, Russ. She was like, Russ is the absolute limit. Like you cannot be wider than you are tall, right? So that's what she says. And recently, I told her, hey, imagine like what body I will get when I'll be like 78, 79 kilos, and she will be like, that will be the limit because then you enter like Russ territory, and that's not for me. So
It's too big, too jacked.
too big, too big. And you know, and for us boys, it's the opposite. Like you want to be, I want to be wider than I'm tall. You know what I mean? I want to be
Yeah,
wider. I want to be a fridge. And so she
yeah.
told me that, and I was like, I know I'm getting somewhere because she said, "Be careful, you'll be entering Rust territory soon." So I was like, "Yes, sir, exactly."
We're
Yeah,
good. We're on a good track. This is
yeah,
exactly where we need to be.
yeah,
But how much? So you have like you are doing far more accessories now. Like, how many more
yeah.
accessories are you doing?
So I would say before I was doing like no accessory because I was running on so low calories that I wanted
Mm,
all of my energy to be focused on my squat, my bench, my deadlift.
mm,
That's the most reason. Like that's the main reason as to why I was the SBD guy. It's not that I was anti accessories. It was just I was like not for me. And now because I have more energy, I'm like I can afford more things. And I do want to say one thing though, because my body is not 100% yet. I'm not training as hard as I know I could be training if my body is 100%. I don't know if that makes sense, but essentially, I'm not doing as many squat sets and deadlift sets that I could be doing on a week
mm.
to week basis. So once my body is back to 100%, then I will probably also add a bit more SBD work. But right now, especially because I decided to move up a weight class, I'm like, okay, right now my body needs more time. And what can I do in order to like get stronger during this time that is not hammering more SBD work? And that's where I came up with adding more bodybuilding stuff into my routine. So I probably will dial back a bit the bodybuilding work once I'm physically able to squat and deadlift more, essentially. But until that happens, yes, I'm doing more stuff. I would say right now, 25-ish% of my training is bodybuilding accessories, and I still have like 70-75% that is squat, bench, deadlift, obviously.
But you've changed your body composition pretty flipping quickly from when you first went to 74 to now. Like
Yeah,
it didn't take you very long to fill out 74. Now you haven't filled it like you're not cutting at all yet. You're not
yeah.
optimizing and you can cut. There's no question you could cut. And you could, when you're 77, 78 kilos is really when you're going to get to close to that top end. We'll talk about some of your goals for 2026. But right now, what is the difference between the calorie intake? Are you counting the calories? What's the difference between your 66 to you being at 74 right now?
Yeah, so at first it was easy to gain weight because I've been running on so low calories for so long that the moment I like opened up the gates, it was like, I was always hungry. I was eating a lot, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm filling up the weight class. I'm filling up the weight class. So I was happy about it. But then, like you said, it stalled a bit, and I was like, I thought I was eating enough, and I wasn't. And because I've been restricting my calories so much the previous years, for a bit of time, I decided to not track my calories. I was like, I'll just eat as much as I can and as much as I want, and that will mostly be enough. And yeah, that was true to a certain extent. But then, if I wanted to reach my goal, which is again like 78 lean, and then cut back down to 74, and be able to be like more competitive in this weight class, I have to like dial in some things. And I want to give props where I have to give props and credit. But you motivated me when we met back at Sheffield again, and you were like, "Man, you can't afford to lose time." You told me your prime is probably you're in your prime right now. Don't lose any time. And so I went back to counting my calories, and within a couple of days, I was like, "Oh, I'm actually not eating as much as I thought I was." So since I came back from Sheffield, I've been like heavily focusing on counting my calories, and that's helped me a lot. So right now I'm running on 2,800 to 3,000 calories a day. So which is like,
That's good. That'll help. That'll,
yeah,
dude, you're eating a lot.
yeah. I'm honestly, you know the Larry Wheels meme when he's like drinking his crazy milk thing during his bulk. I'm feeling like that almost at the end of every meal, but I'm like, have to go through this. It's not an if, it's I have to do it. So yeah, but it's been much 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 better. And yeah, like I told you, my body weight has increased slightly since. So I'm like around 75, 75.5. And I still have a very, very good body composition. So abs still visible. I have like still veins and everything. So, it's not show off. It's just to say I didn't gain as much fat as that, which is good because obviously when you're a powerlifter, you want to have as much muscle mass as possible with regards to your weight class. And I'm still there. So pretty happy about it. Yeah.
All you need in terms of motivation, you take a look at Taylor Atwood when he was plagued with injuries as a 74, and people were like, his total came down. He loses at Worlds to Cali. He shows up at Sheffield, not anywhere close. I got actually Taylor later on today for another podcast, like right after you.
Ooh,
Oh,
nice.
buddy, we'll talk about Sheffield and Joe B. And like now, Joe B's got to come to nationals, and Taylor's like, oh fuck yeah, come and get some. Like this is gonna be crazy, Pana.
Yeah,
Like,
I
can
love
you?
I like Joey B. I like him. I think he's a great athlete, great dude. But the day of Sheffield, I sent Taylor a message on Insta.
And what'd you say?
I told him, please make it happen.
Like, can you imagine for everyone who like was around for Taylor Atwood's era, and then him obviously going through all the struggles he did, if he ends up back at Worlds? If
That's
he ends up back at the World Championships, everybody's gonna be, holy shit, Taylor Atwood's back.
yeah,
And
yeah,
if he ends up back at Worlds, if he fucking wins Worlds, forget about it. Forget
yeah,
about it. That podcast will break to new highs. I'm booking him right on the. It'll be in studio, but like, dude,
100%.
it would be. This would be insane.
And
But
he'll be so
obviously,
deserving of that. So deserving.
it'd be crazy. But
Yeah.
anyways, all that to say, now Joe B's gonna have something to say about it.
Yeah,
But
and unfortunately,
Joe B's a
sometimes
monster. Joe.
sometimes the powerlifting gods are too cruel
Well,
to
here's the thing:
allow us to dream.
powerlifting gods, they giveth and taketh away, and they
Yeah.
giveth and taketh away. I remember your one fucking fire quote. What was it again? You said something like, the powerlifting gods favor me. I'm going to be number one," or something
Yeah,
like that. It was
yeah.
a fire quote. The
I don't
powerlifting
think it was
gods.
as good as that, but I think you elaborated a bit
I
further on the
massaged
quote
it.
and made it a
Yeah,
bit better, I
I
think.
massaged it a little bit, and I made it what it was, but it worked.
Yeah,
You won that year. It was fucking amazing, and everyone's
yeah,
like, "Holy shit, it's a fire thing to say leading into Worlds, and then if you win, forget about
yeah,
it. Legend made." Um, but I bring up Taylor because he was riddled with injuries and didn't have the performances he wanted, and then moved up to 83 and started packing, like just consuming more. And then all of a sudden, injuries went out over time, but injuries left, muscle mass came on, new highs, new highs. And he did like 830, and next thing you knew, he did 876 or whatever he did at Nationals, and God knows what he's about to put up. That's very similar to what you're trying to do yourself. And
yeah.
I'm wondering, I know you self coach for the strength training, but have you thought of going to somebody like an Eric Helms, a Kedrick, or whoever, and being like, here's my expectation. I want to be 78. You have a year. You have a year. French Nationals is at the end of the year. That's my expectation. Get me there. And you say, I'll do whatever you tell me. You're your own strength coach or whatever, but you're like, I'm paying you. You have damn near a year to do it. Let's say 10 months, 9 months. That's a lot of time. You're already 75. Get me to 78, jacked. I'll fucking crush the weights. Let's go. Have you thought about doing that just to hold yourself accountable to the process?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's also something you told me at Sheffield, obviously, and I 100% agree with you on that. On top of that, I have like a really really good uh, connection and relationship with Eric Helms. I think he's a fantastic individual. I learned a lot from him in terms of like programming and nutrition and stuff like that. So in a way, so the thing is, I like to do things myself because I'm like, if I did it myself, I had to make my researches, I had to do some trial and error, see what works, see what doesn't work, and stuff like that. So I think I wouldn't be the coach that I am today if I was coached when I started, because because I had to learn, I had to interest myself to all of those subjects and everything. I attribute a lot of my personal success as a coach and as an athlete to that, to being like, I'm in charge, so I cannot fuck this up. So that's what's been holding me to get a coach, whether it's for strength or whether it's for nutrition, because I was like, I need to figure this out for myself, because then I'll be able to help people out more. So that has been the thought process that I had so far. So there's that, and then there's obviously this thing where I believe in my abilities and I believe in myself, but I don't think I will ever like outsmart Eric Helms when it comes to nutrition. So obviously, working with him would probably allow me to get to my goals a bit quicker and easier and etc. So yeah, I get what you're saying, and that's definitely something that's on my mind. And if I do that, I think the two nutrition person that I have in mind would be Eric Helms and Coco's girlfriend. Her name is Lori, and she's been handling Tiff's nutrition, like I told you, for some months now. And I've seen her doing some tremendous work on French athletes here. I don't want to say she's our Eric Helms, but she's really, really good in terms of nutrition. And yeah, so that would be either one of the two, and obviously, you know, being able to work with a legend like Eric would be fantastic. So that's definitely on my mind. Definitely.
Fuck, I mean, I'm like, fuck Eric Helms. I don't know where you got that from, but but a coach, anyway. Like, here's the thing. Um, biggest in terms, like, I think you're 100% right that doing it yourself, you're going to learn a lot more along the way. And I 100% agree. In terms of your ability to write programming now, I guarantee you the fact that you've been through it and everything you've done from winning world titles and all the rest of it, there's no question you've gained a lot. Not just with the programming you're writing, but understanding what the extra added from programming and athlete, like that bridge, like you talk about it. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we get into Sheffield and the comeback that France and Tiff had, and you yourself as well. But there's definitely a bridge. There's more to it than just programming. You understand that numbers aren't just numbers, and when you do it yourself, and you'll add more clarity to it, but you know, like the round numbers or what becomes a mental barrier and how to deal with it, how to approach it, how to call that bully out to the soccer field. Like, we're going to scrap it out. Like, do it now, but there's a time and a place, and you the whole night. So I believe you when you say, like, trust me, me doing it myself. The education as a coach, I couldn't buy. You know, you read all the books and seminars I know you have, but this is different. But on the flip side, the one piece would be if you know, because there is a difference between the strength and the diet. If you know yourself personally, and you ever tell yourself, I can talk my way out of eating enough or eating certain things, because you were to me when we were talking, you were, and I was like, dog, this sounds like you're making excuses why you're not going to do this, like why you're not going to eat this much or why you're not going to. If you have a coach, imagine Tiff talked to you about not doing accessories or something, you'd be like, no, 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 you're going to do the program. Like, that's where the coach would be. If you're talking to your nutrition coach and saying, I didn't hit these targets, but you know what? He'd be like, no, 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 no. There's no, you know what? There's no nothing. I have the path. I have the pace. You follow. And if you think in the back of your heart, if you're telling yourself, when it comes to me and eating, that might be tougher than me and lifting weights in terms of like staying on pace. If you know that about yourself, that's when you might be like, a guy like Eric Helms and probably like a bunch of other coaches out there, they're not taking it. They will hold your feet to the fire and say, my friend, if you want me, if this is the goal, you know, whatever. They'll and there's a lot of coaches out there that can do this. But that's the one thing about a coach when it's somebody else. It depends.
Yeah,
What do you
100%.
think?
I agree. I agree. So, so since I came back from Sheffield, I've been like really, really consistent with it. And like I said, I have been consistent with it for years, but the other way around, like making sure I wouldn't eat too much and making
Mm.
sure my macro was on point, my macros were on point and stuff like that. And then had this small break, and then now it's like the opposite way where I have to make sure I'm eating enough, so I have to eat more. That's maybe what like thrown me off at first. So yeah, so we'll see, but like definitely I know that right now I can't afford to make any mistake on that, because the 74 kg weight class is probably like the biggest murderer's row right now with the
Mm.
93s, I would say. So yeah, have no choice if I want to be able to cement my name up there.
How crazy is French nationals? I We were talking about Sheffield, and it was 1,000 lifters. Like, that's USAPL in its prime. You
Yeah,
understand how big France is getting? Like, anyone who thought French Worlds was more than an anomaly, that's an anomaly. That's not going to happen. France is better than that. That's just, like you said, happenstance took a bunch of key lifters out the way, but there's a second wave coming. French
yeah,
nationals. I remember me and you talking, and some of you guys were even like, what, 1,000? That sounds like a lot. Is that true? And then you guys looked it up like, holy shit, it was 1,000.
yeah,
1,000 lifters. Like, France has turned on into a powerlifting nation, my friend. How crazy, and some of these people, their totals are getting up there. I don't got to tell you, 74 classes getting nuts. But what is your take on the French lifters now? What you saw at French nationals? what you think is going to happen at Euros, what you think is going to happen at the World Championships with this new wave of French lifters. Obviously, the return of Leah, Tiff. We'll talk about Sheffield, and she's an absolute monster now, turning it on. And then we'll talk about yourself, your plans for 2026, and what you think is going to happen.
Yeah, so I think we're getting there in terms of, so we have the, obviously I think the biggest talent pool in the sport right now and in sports in general is the US, obviously, because of like how many people, because of like the culture of sports there, because it's like, you have the NBA, you have the NFL, you have the baseball league, you have all of those things where you're like, okay, you can make a living off of sports. Whereas in France, especially, unless you want to do football like soccer, French, European football, soccer, um, you can't leave being an athlete. So very, very early, if you interest yourself in sports, your parents will be like, no, you need to focus on the studies, on school. It's not sport that is going to give you any food or whatnot. Whereas in the US, things are different. So um, but I think we're getting there. We have more and more like people getting interested to the sport. I think something that helps us a lot is like the fitness influencer scene in France is quite big actually. It's quite
Mm.
developed, and like through some collabs, through some people with huge followings, like learning about the sport or even practicing, doing a comp and stuff like that. That's how we have more eyes on the sport in France, and that's how more people get into the sport because it gets talked a bit more and stuff like that. So I think that's essentially what is going to give France the second wave of athletes that is coming. And because obviously the athletes we talked about, so Leah, myself, we're not old yet, but we're not the youngest anymore. When I talked to you in the hallway in 2019, and I told you, hey, you're overlooking France, you should watch us. That was already like 7 years ago. So at some point, some other faces will come. That's for sure. Not for now, but at some point they will come. And they're getting ready, I would say, right now, and they're training, they're getting stronger, and they will compete soon and stuff like that. So I would say that is going to be the second wave. And Tiff has been competing at the highest level for quite some time, but she's still young. We have Brutus coming up. He won French nationals. He'll be competing at Euros. He'll be competing at Worlds. So he will be the 120 French representative this year for international
Crazy,
meets.
man.
Yeah, oh,
Crazy,
I'm
dude.
so I'm so
Dude,
happy,
I,
man.
I
I'm so happy.
remember him. I remember him saying, like, we first met like 2021 or
I think it
whatever,
was
and he
Turkey. He
was
was here. He was there with Coco in Turkey. I
and
think that's
he
where
was
we
there
met.
at Coco. So
Yeah.
I met him at Silent Worker, and then I met him again in Turkey at Junior Worlds, and he was like he was jacked back then. But he was. I remember him at Junior Worlds and him saying like, I want to go to Worlds, but I want to go to the Open. I like he was drinking in. You're talking about influencers in France. He was one of
Yeah.
them. In TikTok, millions of followers, like huge, and on YouTube, huge. And like his following, because he's a massive dude. Anyone who meets him in real life, he is crazy tall, like 6'6", 6'7", but jacked. Most guys 6'6", 6'7". It's hard to fill it out jacked in abs the whole night. My man is impossibly jacked. So he's straight up a superhero. And he was like, I want to be at Worlds. I want to be at the Open Worlds. I know it's difficult, but this is my dream, is just to be in there at Open Worlds, like Pana and them. And here we are, 2026,
Yeah.
Open Euros, Open Worlds, Open French national team. And it's not easy. You had to go through Nico. This is not no easy. French nationals is difficult to win nowadays. Like
Oh yeah.
these are battles. So he's battle tested. And that's huge, man. I can't wait until he gets to Open Worlds. People are gonna go crazy when they see him because he's a
Oh,
freaking
absolutely.
French giant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's also like I remember the first time I met him. We did a video together, and I think he squatted like 240, benched 180, and then lifted like 290, something like that. And at French nationals, he squatted like 320 something, benched like 227, like 500 pounds, and deadlifted like 380, and he had room in the tank. So yeah, so I'm so happy for him, and that's exactly the second wave that I'm talking about. So it's people that have been training for years, and lately and slowly they've been getting like to that level in order to be able to compete internationally for France. So I think Worlds 2026 will definitely have a couple of names. Like obviously Leah is returning to competition. I think she'll have a phenomenal comp. Tiff, obviously, for her fifth world title. I personally also coach another 57, Sovan. So
Yeah.
she won the Euros 2 years in a row. Very, very good athlete, 57. So yeah, so I think we'll have good athletes. Obviously, there's Balthazar, the 74 champion right now, who did like 800 at the French nationals. So phenomenal lifter, very, very strong dude. So yeah, so slowly but surely, we'll have the second wave coming up.
How do you think he can do? Because he's young, he's 22, crazy jacked for a 74.
Yeah,
Um, and he did 800. You got Elliot Sykes, but then Elliot might not make it to Worlds if Perk goes through. And like Elliot's got to beat 891.5, which is insane. And Elliot is still a baby in terms of his growth as an athlete. He's got like forever and a day left in his career. So if Elliot doesn't make it to Open Worlds and Perk goes to Open Worlds and Elliot goes junior, then that'll be just one American that Balthazar and France got to worry about. But there's others. I would have to I don't want to turn this into a world's preview show, but how do you think Balthazar can do? Because he's into the
I think
800s now.
yeah, I think he'll. So what is really really insane with him? It's his rate of progress. So last year in April, he did French Junior for his last year, and he did 733. Then he did World Junior, he did 765.
Mm,
World Junior was in August, I think. And then he did French like Open Nationals in December, and he did 800. So it's almost plus 30 kg every comp that he's been doing for almost a
it's
year
crazy.
now. So if he's not doing Euros to focus on Worlds, obviously. So if he's doing another plus 30, he would be in the 830s. And if that's the case, then unless Ilya and Russia is allowed to compete, which as of right now we don't have any information on that, then he probably will be second to Perkins, I would say.
Huge.
That would
Absolutely
be insane.
huge.
Yeah,
And that's good for France on the men's side.
absolutely. Yeah,
Here's what is, and this is also motivation for yourself. Because you
yeah,
were saying, my man, I see, like when we were having the conversation about you bulking up, you're like, you're way thicker than you were, no question. But you're like, man, I look at Balthazar and I'm like, damn, I gotta fill out more. Like this kid is jacked. Like these
yeah,
guys are jacked. You're level up. You got to thicken up, which is good because it makes you feel like I got to put my foot on the gas all over again. I got to chase all over again. What would be
yeah,
huge for France, and we'll talk about the qualifying totals and how this works because not everybody knows. But what would have been cool for France is if you went to Euros, he goes to Worlds, or if you both went to Worlds and France had a 1-2 punch. Because if you get your total up to like 800 plus, imagine France starts having like a silver, a bronze, and like it would be, you start having on the men's side medal hauls, etc. Might be in the future. We'll have to see. But how does that work in terms of qualifying totals and what this looks like now?
yeah. So because we had so France, in terms of qualifying totals, every year they bump up like quite substantially, and the qualifying totals for Euros and Worlds this year in my weight class, at least, so in the 74s right now, is 750 for Euros and 760
Mm,
for Worlds. So if I did 760, chances are, so it's not 100% sure because Balthazar we still have had a bigger total than me, but chances are we would have been able to compete both of us at Worlds this year. So and if it happens in the future, then maybe it will happen. But to your point, I think one of the reasons as to why the US have so many good lifters is because to get out of the US, it's a bloodbath. It's like
mm,
a Shark Tank. And we didn't have that in France. And the more we're moving forward, the more we're getting it. Like right now, I'm in the 74 with Baltazar, so I know if I want to compete internationally, I have to do at least 800. And the thing is, at least 800 probably secures a spot on the podium at Worlds. But now in France, that's what I have to do if I want to compete internationally. So I think that has been the strength of the US for these many years. Like if we look at the 93s this year at the US Nationals, I think top five will be probably top seven will be 900. You have Petrie, you have Russ, you have Will Ball that we met, both of us met at
Tycho,
Sheffield.
Gavin,
Yeah, Keiko, Gavin, you have like
Meach.
multiple world champions, multiple already US national champions. And so the thing is, if you want a chance to just make it out of the US, you have to be almost a world champion already. And this year in France at nationals, it was like that for some weight classes, like much more competitive than it ever has been. And yeah, so in a way, that's a bit that could be I want to say that could be a bit discouraging because you're like I it's as if when I won worlds I was like, okay, I did something that 99.99999% of lifters won't do in their lives, no matter the sport. I did it, like almost I finished the game. But now I have a new game coming up, and this new game is probably a bit tougher than the previous one. So in a way, it could be a bit discouraging, but right now I'm viewing it as, that's a blessing. Like having a guy that strong against me, if I don't evolve, then hey, I won't make it to another worlds because of that. So have actually no choice.
There's no question of forces. There's
Yeah,
nothing like a pace setting horse in front of you. And you're like,
yeah,
well, that's it. Well, that's it
yeah,
then. And we know by studying athletes in sports, once one person does it, everyone else starts pushing a lot further and a lot quicker, and
yeah.
it just starts moving in that direction. Having Baltazar in there, and I don't know if Nabil is going to continue in France because he doesn't live in France, but you can do. I'm not sure how the qualification works, but he's a solid 74. There's more people in that weight. It's a tough weight class. Domestically speaking, in France, that's like a competitive weight class for you now. We're like, all
Yeah,
right, let the battles begin, my friend.
yeah.
And it's not the worst. Me and you talked about this as well. It's not the worst thing in the world for you to have now take this year off and just let everything you did to your body as a 66 forcing things to just recuperate, throw on muscle mass, get stronger, and let it all finally pass. Here's what I noticed. So previously as a 66, you competed like once a month or something crazy. You maxed out a ton and blah blah blah. But now it's somewhat like Russ, where Russ now in his 30s doesn't like these quick turnarounds. Doesn't do. He said openly last time he did Sheffield, I'm not turning around the PA Nats. I don't do that anymore. Like that's not me. And he's spreading out his competitions. He's bulking up. He's eating more. He's gaining in terms of strength, and he's doing like appropriate spreads in between comps. For you, how much is it maybe a bit of a blessing in disguise to be like, let me pull back competing? Because, okay, fine. If I get taken off the international schedule, nothing's going to super entice you right now. Where you're like, oh, I have to. I can't afford to miss this. You could just sit back, let the back heal, let the body beef up, take in these calories, let it do what it did for Taylor Atwood. He took 18 months off. After the Sheffield, he was like, fuck this. Pulled back, bulked up, smashed calories. And when he returned, it was how you like me now. And he's threatening Joe B, for God's sake. How much of this is like looking at guys from your era, Russ and Taylor, and be like, let me resurface? Like, what are your plans for 2026?
So in a way, like you said, I think it's a blessing in disguise because I like to compete. Um, I like to compete often because I'm like, that's the sport. Imagine you're a basketball player and you're only training, you're never playing games. Wouldn't make
Mm.
any sense, right? So that's my view on it. So that's why if like right now, if physically I would be 100%, I would compete often. Like there's a Sandal Walker meet in Ireland in April, I would have done that. And at first, I said, sign me up for this meet. to Anissa, and I was like, oh, that would be so cool if I compete in Ireland. I never competed there and stuff like that. But then I'm like, yeah, I can't afford it anymore. So I'm frustrated by the situation, to be 100% transparent with you, because I would like to be in this position where I'm like, I can compete whenever I want to. But like you said, also at the same time, I think I didn't, it's not that I didn't realize, but I didn't want to realize and to like face the consequences of all of those weight cuts that I did. Like sometimes I was doing seven weight cuts a year to compete
Mm.
7 times. So a lot of competitions, a lot of weight cuts, stuff like that. And I think my body just took a toll, probably a bigger one than I thought I took. And yeah, so right now, how I'm viewing things is, next time I step foot on the platform, I want to be 100%. I want to be in shape to do a total that I know I'm capable of. So 780, 800, around this range. And so I have 2 dates in mind. One is in July and another one is in October. So if my body's getting better and I'm able to train correctly for the coming months and stuff like that, and I'm able to do the July meet, then I'll sign up for the meet in July. And then otherwise, it will be Simon Walker meet in October. That will be in Paris.
First off, that'll be freaking crazy. Silent worker in Paris will be nuts. But
That, man, we are going to lose our shit, and people are going to lose their shit too. That will be
yeah,
insane.
I just I think it's a really good idea to, well, some of it'll be being a more mature lifter in terms of where you are in your career. Like Russ, he's like and Taylor as well. After a while, maybe you have to adjust and say, I think if you're younger, like Turbo Tiff, freaking Turbo Tiff, like since Worlds competed like 4 times, it was doing like PRs every time. Like God bless it. Oh, who argues again? It worked. It worked. And it showed up at Sheffield and destroyed everybody. Like, of course, yeah, like what? Obviously, she's fine. It can happen. It can work. But also, there is something to be said for when you're entering into your 30s. If you've been doing it for years, and to be like, hey, my body's getting a little roughed up, to adjust and knowing when. Muhammad Ali said the same thing, man. Muhammad Ali in his 20s, before he was exiled, was destroying guys and was different. When he came back, he's like, I train differently now. I behave differently now. I think I'll get more out of my body by doing it. It kind of depends. You got to pay attention to it. I think I also like your goals of 780 to 800. It'll be really easy to start skipping steps. If you do come back, let's say you do in the fall, October, and you do 780, and then by French nationals, now you're looking at 800. All the, and I don't know where about the or Bertrand or and whatever else, like what the rest of the field is. So let's you round up a little bit, whatever the hell. But those are like attainable, decent spreads for you to hit. Um, or are you thinking you need 800 before nationals and you're trying to go over 800 by nationals? I don't know. Either way,
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the thing with high level, being a high level athlete, is it's a fine balance between being delusional, but man, you have to be delusional. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's like
yeah,
fake it until you make it, right? So
right.
yeah, right now I'm sitting here, maybe 800. I'll get that total in 2 years. I don't know, but in my mind, I'm like, next time I compete, I'm shooting for that. So yeah, but to your point, I think there definitely are steps along the way, but I think the biggest step for me is to actually take a step back. Because since I decided to move up, I didn't take any step back. Like I competed in October, so a month and a half almost after moving up to the 74s for Sound Worker. Then I competed again like 2 months later at French Nationals. So again, didn't get a lot of time. My prep for French Nationals wasn't good actually, for various reasons. But it's hard for me not to show up. It's hard for me to say, you know what, I'll give myself a year. But after what happened at French Nationals, I'm like, that's the route that I'm taking right now. So next time you'll see me on the platform, at best July, at worst October. But both times my goal will be the same. best total on the platform by far. And yeah, I'm shooting for 800, and that's a crazy target to have. But hey, you don't accomplish great things by setting low expectations on yourself, right? So I have high expectations on myself. I know who I want to face on the platform, whether it be in France, whether it be internationally. And if I want to have a chance, 800 is just the starting point. That's the worst thing is once I get 800, I could be like, oh yeah, but then like let's face it, 800 will be just the starting point to be in contention with those crazy guys. So yeah, that's the way I view it.
Isn't it crazy, man? It's like, first off, to be talking about like Pena's gunning for 800 is fucking, it's exciting that you moved up and now you can be bigger, stronger, start talking like these huge weights. Huge. It's no longer, if you're talking to somebody at the gym and you're no longer like he's strong, but if you're 66, like your totals were obviously big, but it would be like, no, he's not strong for a size, just period. How many people are totaling 800 kilos? How many people, period, in powerlifting in general ever hit 800 kilos and up? That is a unique club, no matter the size. Like that's the type of numbers you're starting to walk into. Like when we were in Sheffield and they had those strongmen there, and you're shuffling weight around that. Probably they'd be like that's would be my squat weight, and you're squat now because you're squatting over 600 pounds yourself. And that's like a big, strong guy who squats over 600. This is not just for your size, period. Strength athlete wise, how many people are going to hit those numbers? That's exciting too.
Yeah.
But we were also mentioning how beginning of 2025, Sheffield, bad total for you that you're disappointed in your day is less than 700 kilos. Leaving 2025, a bad total for you, you're like, God, I'm not really happy with that, is 737 and a half. And so there's a huge difference now between your strength levels. You haven't been able to express it like you want to. You're not hitting in the late 700s or 800 yet. But if that's a bad day, 737.5, when you were 66, that would have been insane. So you
Yeah.
are definitely a bigger, stronger human being.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's with everything you want things to go fast and quickly, and yeah, sometimes you just have to chew it a bit more, and have a dog's mindset, a dog's mentality. And even if uh, even if it will take time, don't worry, that bone will be chewed, don't worry.
It's a cooler journey too, dude. You got to keep documenting it and saying, um, like from the calories to the training to the bulk to the body composition differences, because it's like starting anew. It's like a
Yeah.
whole new journey. Like, let's see how far we can go from the first time you qualify and you show up at Euros, let alone Worlds. It'll be like, Pana has returned to international competition. That's
Yeah.
huge. That'll be cool. Like when that goes out, it's like Pana hits international comp. Like the year off builds that anticipation. And then
Yeah.
if you return to Worlds and it's like, Pana has returned to Worlds. It has happened. It's like we talk about Atwood returning to Worlds. Stepping back makes that happen. You step back in 2025, you miss 2026, Penna returning to Worlds, all of a sudden everybody on all the podcasts will be like, holy shit, he's back. He's
And what
back.
if
Here it
what if my
is.
return to Worlds happens the year that Worlds is in France? Imagine that.
Oh, buddy. What is
Imagine
what is
that.
like that'd be absolutely monstrous and huge. When is it returning back to France?
I think there's a bid. I'm not sure if it's 27 or 28, but it's one of the other. It's either
Okay.
27 or 28.
Absolutely huge. Huge
Yeah,
storyline.
yeah.
Absolutely huge storyline. I mean,
I'll be
obviously
honest
you
with
got to
you.
get to,
That's my goal. That's really my goal. Like midterm, that's my goal to be back at Worlds in France.
and if it's like you got time then.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
you 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 search for 800. By the time that rolls around, though, we're talking you can go deeper into the 800s. God knows where you might be. You got plenty of time to all
yeah,
of a sudden be like, no, now when you return to Worlds, you're like, I want podium, I want whatever the hell. Let's see who's still around, and like everything changes by then, right? Like the
yeah.
whole freaking landscape could be different. I don't got to tell you. Um, but yeah, let's talk about Sheffield a little bit because I got Atwood as well back to back after this. But the redemption story that Sheffield was for yourself, for Turbo Tiff, and for France. in
Yeah.
general because you guys didn't have a single world champion, and then all of the world champions show up at Sheffield, and Tiff slays them all and becomes the champion of champions.
Yeah. No, that was so. The thing is, like you said, when Tiff came back from Germany, we had a goal to like turn around quickly, and that goal was obviously the World Games. And sat down with Tiff, talked about it with her, and she was like, "I'm never going to experience that again in my life." And I was like, "You know what? Cool." That I had the same thing in mind. So, like you said at the beginning of the podcast, we did some changes, like in her training, in her programming. She also did some changes in like the way she was approaching some training sessions, and we were like, we want to strike hard at the World Games. We want to put the world on notice. Hey, Tiff is there. Um, so because in Worlds 2022, she added 20 kilos on the world record total, jeopardizes her chances for Sheffield the next year. So we talked about it and we said because World Games was like both like two weight classes combined, she was with the 52s, so she could officially weigh a bit heavier and not and podium and not like touch the 47 world record. So we're like we're doing that. So she weighed in 47.1, so which is essentially 47, but just to not touch officially the world record. And so when she did her performance from the World Games, we were like, hey, that would be like a 3 something percent, like Sheffield scoring based off the current world record. You might end up on the podium with a performance like that. So we talked about it, and you know it's crazy because we didn't have any formal conversation about it like in between us, but at some point the Wildlight media guys came to shoot some stuff with us, and Tiff was doing like an interview, and during the interview she said like my goal is to win Sheffield, and I was like, yeah, yeah, she said it during an interview. And you know it's not Tiff's character, you know, she's a bit more like shy, a bit more like on the restraining side of things, right? And then they interviewed me and I was like, that will be a revenge, like there's no discussing, she's gunning for first place. And when we said that, we both like looked at each other and we were like, we said it, like it cannot be undone, like we can't settle for anything less than first place this year at Sheffield. So yeah, to be 100% transparent with you and with the people listening, we knew she had some good chances at winning, and that was essentially the plan. The plan was to win Sheffield this year.
So, and you guys obviously knew like the redemption. This is going to be all around. The night before, we were all hanging out. We were at that one restaurant at Sheffield, which is whatever. Yeah, good food, is good hang. She looked relatively smooth, calm, cool, and collected, considering Sheffield was upon us. Did you? How confident were you guys? Because she didn't seem overly rattled. But the battle there, the storyline going in, because Heather Connor was going to be there, and she's going to be pressed. And for the first time in probably ever, Turbo Tiff is going to be an underdog. But not only that, it's one thing to have like several French lifters there, so the focus is kind of dissipated and not so heavily focused on one person. But because of what happened at Worlds, and you just got Turbo Tiff there, where it's holding the hopes of a nation. Everywhere there's going to be viewing parties if there's a French powerlifting crew and they're watching. You know this is redemption. This is redemption for us. And then even for yourself to be like all the critiques and whatnot, to be like, I'm handling her myself. We are going to, if she's going to win a head to head battle, you know how much handling means in a head to head battle. Heather Connor herself said, I think Tiff was stronger than me on the day, and I think I still ended up winning. And in terms of when you're the handler, that is an enormous amount of pressure. If you have the faster car, you got to win this race. And you're telling yourself, I'm handling now. It's all on me. I got to steer this one. How much pressure did you feel in terms of all of those factors?
So before we dive into this section, a quick shout out to Matt Gary. Uh,
That's right.
my man's my man's was good on predictions. No, it's all good. It's all good. So yeah, no, to be honest, so first things first, I think the main the major mistake Tiff did during Worlds 25 was to focus too much on what was going on around her and not enough like on what she could do herself. So I think she had a bit too much like outer focus instead of having inner focus. So the first thing that I told her was, for this year at Sheffield, you don't focus on anything. You forget about Heather Connor, you forget about everything. You just focus on, we have one job to do, we have 3 squats to get in, 3 benches, 3 deadlifts, and then we're off. And I remember, so I usually do audio recaps to the athletes that I coach. And I remember when I did the last audio recap that I did to her for Sheffield, I told her, I don't care. So I won't be upset if we don't win, as long as you fought like a lion and you gave it your absolute best. If we do that and we don't win, I will be okay with it, because hey, someone was just stronger than us on the day, so it wasn't meant for us to win this year. But I told her, but at the same time, I'm 100% confident that if you do that, if you fight like a lion and you fight until the very end, I'm sure no one is stronger than you this year. So essentially, that was the goal for Tiff. The goal was to just focus on herself and just execute the weights that she needed to execute. So that's something that I took on me, was I wanted to take this pressure on the day off, and Tiff just had to lift and not do anything else. Um, and then with regards to like the pressure on me handling her, I'll be honest with you, I didn't feel it, because I knew what we were capable of, like both of us, and because I know that I know her very, very well as an athlete, and she knows me also as a coach. So I was like, everything will be smooth. And at the same time, if again, if we're in agreement with what we're supposed to do and what we want to do on the day off, if Tiff is, I'm all in for that, and I myself, I'm all in for that, and we end up losing, you know, we can look at ourselves in the mirror and be like, hey, we had to take the shot. We fought like lions, and we just didn't win. That's how it is. So yeah, so I was calm. I was focused on like our task, to be quite honest with you. So there wasn't really any, oh, what if I do this, and what if she misses a lift? And I was like, no matter what happens, I think we got this. I think no matter what happens.
How much does this mean to you, knowing what Worlds was, in that you got this win for France and you helped seal the deal, training Tiff, working with your athlete, and going 9 for 9 at a time when you got to be as pinpoint and on point as possible. And you got that win for France. What does that mean to you personally, for that redemption, for all of France? And it couldn't, how sweet is it? I had said when the first wave came and it was you, Leah, and Noemi, and you guys were winning, and then Turbo Tiff, and then Turbo Tiff is winning. And I said, you are the leader of the French Revolution, because you started it. You brought these athletes. When you stopped me at 2019, you said, there's a wave coming. I'm paraphrasing, but you stopped me in the hallway and you said, to my left, that's Noemi Alibert. To my right, that's Leah Bavois. My name is Pana. You're going to know us. And then all three you guys became world champions. And then not long after that, Turbo Tiff, blah, blah, blah. And you were the leader of the French Revolution. Then France has the performance at Worlds. What does it mean to you to be the guy that helps steer for the redemption for all of France at Sheffield when it's a champion of champions? A, that, and then B, personally as a coach, where do you rank that victory due to that background? Because you've got a lot of big high profile athlete wins, from world championships to world records.
It's I really like the way you described how I approached you in 2019. It was really like Godfather, like to my left, this is Noemi. To my right, very very Godfather. Like my name is Pana, which is
Yeah,
also a bit
yeah.
Italian sounding. But yeah, um, so no, I'll be honest with you. I would like to tell you, hey, yeah, that's I feel so privileged to have been able to do that for friends, etc. But I, it's hard to say I in this situation. Um, I think most importantly, it was a moment for powerlifting in France because we were able to celebrate our first World Games gold medal, which was Tiff, and we were also able to celebrate our first ever Sheffield victory, which also was Tiff. So I think it was just a good feel good moment for everybody. And as much as I would like to give myself more props and more flowers on, oh, I handle her like a demigod, and I don't think that's true, to be honest with you. I think I just did my job, and that's the worst part. When you're a handler, it's when you do your job correctly, it almost goes unnoticed, and
Mm.
that's when you mess up that it actually goes noticed. So again, I think all of the credit of that goes to Tiff for her absolute crazy performance, not only the day of, but also being able to rally back from a horrible loss at Worlds. A lot of rumors and a lot of naysayers and stuff like that. And yeah, so I'm like, even if I contributed 5%, I'm proud of that, but I don't want to celebrate that and be like, oh, that's my victory. I did that for friends or whatnot. So that's definitely not how I view it. It's more so I'm privileged to be able to coach one of the greatest athletes of the sport, uh, especially since I've been coaching her from day one. So she's almost like all like my style of programming and approach made, let's say, as an athlete. So that's awesome, but that's her. She brought this victory for France. She's the one that I want us as French powerlifters to celebrate, and that's really cool. And then for the most personal side of things, so how did it feel as a coach? It felt so good, but I think it felt so good because of what happened in Germany. And if I were to rank that, I would probably rank um, I would probably rank my first ever Worlds victory with Tiff and Leah that I was coaching back then. So in 2021, number one, and that would definitely be number two. Obviously, my win in 23, it's more personal because it's with my dad and everything. So I don't rank it like as a coach, let's say. But yeah, if I were to rank that as a coach, it would definitely be number two because although it's awesome and I'm pumped for this victory for Tiff for qualifying in France. I think being the first ever to win Worlds in 2021, being able to do that with my friends, with Tiff, with Leah, that was I think number one for sure.
For you to win a world title and then have two athletes alongside you also win a world title that's a pretty big flex. That's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
difficult. Like who's done that? I don't even know
yeah.
how many coaches have won a world title and also had two athletes win a world title the same world championship. That's a trivia question for Matt Gary, ironically. I wonder. I wonder who the hell has also done that.
Yeah, so
Holy shit.
ask him that, but next time on the podcast, you don't tell him that it actually happened. So you tell him,
That's
and then you're like, oh, Pana did it. I just want to see his face.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Freaking yeah, wow. And fair enough about like Tiff is ironically too back in 2021 Worlds, that's when Heather couldn't make it. And
Yeah,
it's their stories are forever linked in their battles they had in 2022 when they did face off. And then obviously 2025, now 2026 at the Sheffield. Those two are linked and they have pushed each other and have been amazing rivals. What a freaking rivalry they've had. And you need a
right.
rivalry. And between
When
America and France, bigger picture on the women's side, they've gone back and forth as well. Like who's the
absolutely.
number one in the world the American women or the French women. It's been such a good rivalry.
Yeah,
It's yeah.
absolutely. When we came down from the platform at Sheffield, so after Tiff's third attempt, she was stressed out because she was the first one to deadlift, and we had to wait for all of the other females deadlifting her to know if she
Mm.
had won or not. And I told her, like, forget about everything right now. You did what you had to do, and now we just have to wait. And when we were walking downstairs, we like saw Heather, and Heather congratulated Tiff and everything. And I told her, today she's our enemy on the platform, but without her, we wouldn't be in this situation today. And that's the beauty of it, and that's also what's so hard to accept about it is this loss like brought so much pain and so much sadness and so much hard moments to Tiff. But without this loss, without Heather Connor, Tiff wouldn't have probably, I want to say probably wouldn't have won Sheffield 26. So in a way, you need your enemies, you need them to be stronger than you at some moments, and then you just have to rally back and be able to slay the dragon the next time.
It's dude, I know like Leah obviously wrote a book. At some point, you got to fricking write a book because this story is getting it's wild everything that you've been tied to. And not many people pick their shots. Like you picked your shot as a coach when you first grabbed me is like I think something's coming. And it might have just like kind of been hot for a minute and then fizzled out. But like, look at all these years later, like we're talking about winning Sheffield, like obviously. And then even yourself, when you came on the podcast and all these battles, and you're like, I'm going to win. And you won when you said the gods favor me. And then when you came on the podcast in obviously 2023, Malta, fucking forget about it. Like that is that chapter of your book, forget about it. Like that could be a movie in and of itself. And no one will ever forget. I will never forget. Like that, even that reel you made is beautiful. Like it's amazing, dude. The moment when you're watching to see if Brian Lee's going to hit that deadlift, and when you find out you became a world champ and you run into the stands to greet your dad, like, oh, and the way you looked when you walked out onto the platform for your lifts, the way you looked out to the crowd and the look expression on your face, I'll
Yeah,
never forget those moments, dude. When you're on the
yeah,
podium and the anthem wing came up, fucking dude, it's crazy. You've had
yeah.
an insane career and you're still 30. Like it's freaking it's nuts. Don't write a book yet because there's like too much more to go, but write a book
It's
and do an English version for me, please.
so I just feel fortunate, I'll be honest with you, to have crossed ways and to have met so many incredible people. Like you named a lot of those people. You're obviously included in this list. But yeah, and I just want to, I don't know how close we are to finishing this podcast, but I think that's definitely something I want to touch upon because we talked about it in DMs, but I recently had an event that was Bench Against Cancer, and I wanted to have this charity event to get as many funds as possible for like the research against cancer. And that's obviously something that's close to me because my dad fought cancer for several years. And for me right now, this year, like you said, 2025 has been a rough year for me, but I just want to continue to get inspired by my dad and be like, he had some rough years himself and never showed nothing but resilience and patience and just showing up every day. Just waking up and making food and eating and walking, that was hard for him. And he did that for many years to be here as much as he could. So yeah, this this event for me was really really important, and I just want to get as many attention that I can on this project because this year we were able to raise 21,000 euros, and my goal for next year, so this event will happen in probably in 2026, probably it's not 100% done yet, but probably. And my goal for this year will be to raise 100K. And obviously, to raise 100K, you need as many people involved as possible. So, if any of you want to support this project, we have a YouTube, an Insta page, especially for this project. And yeah, so make sure to follow this page. And being able to link powerlifting, which is my passion, the sport that like saved me essentially. That is, like I said several times on the podcast, the way I express myself. That's also why I wanted powerlifting to be related to this project. And yeah, if at some point we're able to raise 100K through bench press, through powerlifting for a charity like that against cancer, for research against cancer, that would be insane. So just wanted to have a quick message for that quickly.
Dude, 21K is fucking insane for you to raise that first off. I love the idea. I
Yeah.
don't know if you know this, but at some point back in the day when I was doing reality TV shows and I was powerlifting, I did a Guinness World Record for squatting over the course of an hour. And it was like,
Okay.
I forget the weight I had to squat, but it was crazy. Like I literally like it was like a bad idea. I did it, but I was like bedridden with like my central nervous system is like the flu. I was literally bedridden, was lowering myself in and out of the car with my arm because I was like, it was horrible. However, like I bit off more than I could chew. I pulled it off only through because the media was there and everything. And I was like, I can't.
All
They
the
were,
good stuff.
they were, they were, my muscles were shutting off. So the guy was taping my legs. He's like, do you always walk this bow legged? I was like, no, what do you mean? How am I walking? Nah, don't worry about it. I'm just going to tape up your leg a second though. Cause certain muscles were shutting off. So you tape the leg so that the other muscles, will compensate for you. But anyways, it is, when you set those massive volume goals within an hour, 2 hours, or 6 hours, it is a whole nother threshold of like trying to reach your limit. I mean, like it's not like a one lift. It's like a ultra marathon runner who might hit the wall. And I would be intrigued if you did something where you're like, I don't know, whatever crazy, 100,000 kilos or whatever you're gonna do over whatever set of time. But if you went all in on that and did a live stream on it, I know I get it. Who wants to watch me squat or bench for that long? I'm telling you, my friend, if you do this properly, I got national news and I finished off with 20,000 people at a football game, like cheering me on. And that's where we wrapped it up. Yes, Pana, yes, you can get tons of views. You will make 100K. And God knows you might even get a Guinness World Record attached to it. Me and you need to talk, kid. After this, I've done this before, and mainstream picks it up, as well as social media, as well as how quickly this could roll. Because you got a little bit of time. I don't want to smoke you so that you're lowering yourself into a car like I was in bedridden because you need to. We got to get you back on the national team.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
let's talk about it. Let's talk about
Yeah.
what's reasonable. However, dude, it is fascinating to watch somebody push themselves to the limit. And unlike powerlifting, because you can grind and you got heart like crazy. I ain't never seen nobody with heart like you when it comes to weightlifting. I guarantee you, when the lactic acid comes in and you hit the wall, it is going to be courageous to watch you have to keep going.
Yeah.
But the pacing and everything, it's like rounds. Every minute of every hour, if this is a multiple hour, and the last hour becomes the shit of heroics. It becomes some fascinating watching. And if you have a money thing where it shows you more and more euros coming in, and during it, you have like commentary and you have, we could do this, dog. And we do this properly, it'll be like a telethon they used to do back in the day. And for sure, you're in the background. We get up different things going on while you're doing it and keep cutting to you, keep cutting to you. Don't worry. But you want 100K? Let me and you talk, and I guarantee you it'll be fucking riveting. And you will make the 100K, and your story will be huge.
Yeah, let's. I just want to. I just want to be able to show that like powerlifting, like sports in general, but powerlifting it's lifting weights, but if we can do something like cool for the community, and also for me, it's just a way to give back, like to the world, for my dad's fight. I would be I would be really really happy. Like, fun story. I sold one of my French singlets to the auctions, and all of the money, from the sale, went into the funds we actually got. So 21K. So my singlet from when I won Euros in 2023 went up for sales at 1,800 euros.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so one
Dude,
dude
that's
bought the singlet for 1,800 euros to help us and support the charity.
that's crazy, man.
Yeah,
It's fun, it's inspiring, it's intriguing, and it's for a good cause. Like these are check
yeah,
boxes everywhere, man.
yeah.
Everywhere. And
That's
if
why. That's
you
why
got a little
next
bit of
year I
time,
really want to try the 100K next year.
dog,
That would be insane.
we got to talk, man.
So yeah, if
We
we,
got
if
to
we can do
talk.
a quick TED talk afterwards, that would be appreciated.
My man, let's throw some ideas around because this will be a ton of fun. We
Yeah,
can't have you too smoked though. I'm being honest, like because I
yeah,
want
yeah,
you
yeah,
back on an
yeah,
international team. I need to
yeah,
see
yeah.
800 happen, and you
Yeah.
can't be bedridden like I was. But
That's why
yeah,
I
who
wasn't
knows?
alone when I did it. That's why, like Brutus was here, Coco was here, and another French influencer was here. So that's what it was, like four of us to bench like 100K kilos.
Mhm.
Because at first I wanted to do it alone, but I was like you said, if then I'm fried for a month and I tear a pec or something like that, my chances to be back on the team will be even lower. So
Yeah,
let's make something happen. But that still allows me to train and be able to be back, at the highest level.
I got ideas. Don't worry about
For
it.
sure.
All right, my man. We'll talk soon. Thank you for coming on the podcast. We got to talk when Euros rolls around. After Euros
Yeah,
passes, Worlds rolls around. You're going to be in Dubai, I'm assuming.
yeah, probably, yeah.
Playboy. Playboy, Dubai is going to be freaking crazy. How
Yeah,
crazy is Dubai going to be? You got to, man. You got to be at
yeah, yeah.
Dubai. You, Leah, the keep got to be back again.
Yeah, I'll be Leah.
Because
Leah will be back on the world stage. Tiff will, be fighting for a fifth world title. Sov will also probably be there. Brutus will be there. So I have some
yeah,
athletes that I coach personally. So yeah, chances are I'll be there.
hell yeah. All right, my man. Thank you for coming on the podcast as per usual. And for everybody else, please do subscribe, give us high ratings, and until next time, six pack Lapadat, six up, and we are out.